So I've officially started the recording. Now, I told you I'm old, and sometimes I forget to start the recording. So if you don't see a little red dot top left, go Ferguson, record, and I will not take offense. Okay, another thing that's different this semester is a 2-session class, double session. The problem is the way they do the classes here at Sierra are different than they do classes elsewhere. Elsewhere, they have a lecture class that's the main class, and then a sub-lab off of that. Here, each section is a separate class. And so that means I have to have 2 canvases. When I send out messages, I have to send them out to each class. So I was complaining, to the e-learning folks, and they said, why don't you just do a blueprint? And what a blueprint does is it merges 2 sections together, which is this. So go to there, not the individual lab section you're in. Okay. And what that does for me is I only have to update it once rather than twice. Because I always worry about, did I update both of them? One missing? Pain. So anyway, that's what blueprint means. Boy, the bandwidth is kind of crappy today. This is a little 1 megabyte file. How long is it taking to load? Wow. Oh, this they would see a problem with this. Yeah. This is version 1.0. It should not be version 1.0, it should be 1.1. Anyway, I'll update that when I get home. Okay. Basically, syllabus are typically anywhere from 12 to 25 pages long. Students could give a rip about all the boilerplate. They want to know 2 things. They want to know how I grade and how to contact me. Okay. So this is my Sierra College email address. From Canvas, if you click on this, it'll go directly to my Outlook, or you can go to Outlook and type this in, and it'll go there as well. This is my phone number. If you want to text me for anything, feel free to. If it's about a problem, I don't want to do it via text. I want to do it via email, and I want you to take a picture of the problem, because otherwise it's hard to help you there. Or we could do a Zoom session as well. Okay, we're going to be in AT3, which is this room here. And usually my lectures go an hour, 5 minutes, something like that. Because lab starts at 1:30. And I need to be able to take all that stuff down that you saw me hooking up. And also got to start the way videos are made. I use Zoom to create the videos. Okay, when you're done with the session and you log out, it creates an MP4 file, which is a video file, and it takes a finite amount of time. And then I have to upload that to YouTube. And I do a share. Then I go to Canvas to make a page, and then I put that page in modules. So it's a bunch of steps, but I've done it like 18,000 times. So it's straightforward for me. But anyway, that's the process I have to use. Okay. So anyway, not a problem texting me like if you're not going to be in class or you're sick or something like that. That's fine. Regarding attendance, is anyone in here 14? Raise your hand if you're 14. I didn't think so, right? So I'm not going to treat you like you're 14 either. You're all adults in here. I don't take attendance. If you come to class, or let me back up. If you don't come to class and you take the test and get an A, good. You're not any brownie points for attendance. The purpose of attendance is so you can get the content, so you do well on tests. But I don't take roll. It takes a ton of time, and I don't believe in busy work either. So I'm going to talk about that a lot when we talk about the lab write-ups. So anyway, so this page here is basically contact info for me. And then the other thing students are interested in is, how do I grade? Okay, so you're going to have a combination of, the main combination you're going to have is series of exams and labs. Now you're going to have two super easy assignments. That is the waiver and the lab safety contract. Those are like I'm just 3 points almost, but you've got to have them. Otherwise, you can't participate in lab. This is a lab class. If you don't participate in lab, you cannot pass the class. You know, when I was up in Washington, I was teaching at Tacoma Community College, and I had this kid that was acing the test, doing really, really well, but he was really a flake regarding labs. He was over the student union playing cards with his buddies during lab. So he got an A on all of his tests and ended up with an F in the class because he missed like 8 labs. And I was going like, he says, well, I didn't think they were important. I said, this is a lab class. By law, you have to pass the lab to pass the class. And I said at the beginning of class too, but anyway, it's crazy. So, okay, so the main areas of points though are labs and tests. Okay, now say you get a 60 on one of your midterms. No one's happy with a 60, right? And this is always out of 100 percentage points. And you got an 80 on your final. What I'll do is I'll swap out your final grade for your lowest test score. That would bring that 60 up to an 80. Additionally, they always ask, is extra credit available? Yes, there is extra credit available, and it's in the form of a poster. Now, the cool thing about this is rarely, if ever, when you're in school, you get to study something you're interested in and get points for it. Well, that's not in my class. If you have an interest in something, you can get points for it. So say we go back to your 60% grade on your lowest test score. Okay, and you did this wonderful poster on the issues of fructose in our daily diet. Why is fructose bad for you? Blah, blah, blah. And you did this really cool poster. Assuming you did a good job on the poster, big assumption, I will then go to your lowest test score and give you a 50% rebate. So if you got a 60% on the test, how many points did you lose? 40. Half of 40 is 20, so you get 20 points. So it goes from 60 to an 80. That is due anytime between now and the end of the semester. Now we're going to have 2 holidays for Friday, Saturday classes. One is President's Day weekend. There's no class or lab that weekend. And secondly, we're having, after 8 weeks, most schools in the state go on a recess. It's a non-denominational recess, so it's not religious related or anything like that. It's just recess. We have a week off. So those are the 2 holidays in this class. And it's reflected in the lab schedule as well. Now, those would be good times to do your extra credit if you're interested in doing it. And if you want to do it over the President's holiday, which is the middle of next month, that's fine. You don't have to wait till the end of the semester. You can wait till the end of the semester if you want, but it doesn't matter. A lot of people do them early. So I learned a lot of, I've been doing this this extra credit poster stuff for many, many years. I've learned more cool stuff from my students. Who's heard of Manuka honey? Anyone? Okay. Is that good stuff? It's very good stuff. And let me tell you how good it is. It has magical healing properties in it. It's got antibiotics in it. It's got antioxidants in it. It's really cool. I didn't know about Manuka honey until one of my students did a poster on it. And another person did it on, I play a number of instruments. I'm really into music. And this one person played the violin, and she looked at the chemistry of how the varnish affects the wood, which affects the sound of the violin. Another guy was into guitars. He did it on string corrosion, and he got points for it. Really kind of cool. Another person did it on the chemistry of death. What happens to your body when you die? Get stiff for a while. What does that mean? You know. Anyway, another person did it on the chemistry of love, all the hormones associated with it. So anyway, my point is, there's a textbook out called Chemistry in Everything, and really is you can relate most things to chemistry. So if you have an idea, run it by me. We can probably make it work. So if you want to do that, you can go to Canvas. And if you go to Files, then Test Related, Extra Credit Posters. And there are a whole bunch of examples. Some of these are excellent, others are okay. And I can just give you an idea of the breadth of the topics. They're pretty cool topics. Basically, it's going to be a 3-panel poster. If you can find black, that's better because everything pops with a black background. But just I had one class that's teaching organic chemistry up in Olympia, and they were a social class. Their study group was the whole class. And when they did poster, it was in my organic class, it's required. It's not optional. They were, and you don't have to present to the class either. You just, you show it to me when you and I talk, and that's it. There's no stress involved. Not them. They wanted to present to the whole class. They had neon blinking stuff on their posters, all kinds. It was really cool. They sent me pictures of their study group. You know, they had wine bottles there, and they'd go someplace, have a potluck and stuff. Really a cool group. So anyway, these are examples of posters. It'll give you an idea of, mainly it's going to be kind of a, if you're really into scrapbooking, this is a project for you. Yeah. Poster. No PowerPoints. It's going to be a poster. Okay. Yeah. It's a 50% rebate on your against your lowest test. Okay. So if you're fine with all your test scores, don't do it. Okay. Does that make sense? Okay. All right. While we're on test related, I do have examples of older tests. Practice tests with keys. Now your first tests and the last 2 tests are going to be your hardest tests. Just over the years, I've noticed that students have the most problem with those 3 tests. And they're the most mathematical. Now, if you don't like math, you may struggle in this class because this is a very mathy class, particularly in the first part and the end part. Chemistry, except for organic chemistry, is very mathy. And that's the big deal with chemistry. That's why sometimes it has a bad reputation as well, because it's really mouthy. And some people just don't like math. Now, knowing that, I have lots of strategies for you because everyone hates word problems, right? Give me the equation. No, life is a word problem. So you've got to figure out how to do word problems. So I give you these strategies. Highlighters are good. So if you don't have a highlighter, pick one or two up. Because what happens is I break it down by given, what are you trying to calculate, and then there's a setup. And all those are different colors. So you go through the paragraph, find what's given, this and that, and and then you ignore everything else. Everything else is superfluous. You just want those items. That's it. So you got to know what to look for. You guys, there's seats back towards that way if you want. Should be. Then just go into whatever section you signed up for. And theoretically, Blueprint will populate those. So that's what you're doing now, right? That's what you're doing now, right? Is it working?
I mean, I have like all the information, I think, but
Just click on something. Let's do,
you want to go to files or?
yeah, files is fine. Yeah, it looks like, okay. So,
Okay,
because I never know what the students are saying.
yeah,
So I think it's working.
okay. I'll let you know.
So, and because one of the things, whenever I change anything on Blueprint, I have to sync it. And I think that's what the syncing is. It populates the two set lab sections, would be my guess. A lot of, we call these learning management systems. It's all like in the cloud. You don't know what's happening in the background. And it took me 3 days to be able to email you guys. Because when I was trying to email you via Blueprint, it said I have no recipients. I say I have like a bunch of recipients, over 48. And so I was on there for hours. They couldn't figure it out. Then they found out, I should say, my Blueprint has one recipient in it, me. I said, well, and then I hadn't published the other lab sections, and you can't send a message to unpublished classes. So then we finally published those classes, and I was able to send a message. And then I can't do it via Blue. I have to do it individually. Yeah. Yeah, that's what she was saying. Yeah. So just get in your individual section, and it'll be the same stuff. Yeah. So what that means is when I click on sync on my Blueprint, it'll then go to those two lab sections and populate it. Assuming I remember to sync.
You sent out 2 emails. Was there any other announcements or anything you said you were trying to contact the students? Because we didn't, for example, I only received 2 emails, one about requirements and one that just had like 4 letters in it, and that's it.
Test. Yeah.
Yes, test.
Yeah.
And there was no other announcements, no other anything while we went over there. Maybe there's something else that everyone else received.
No.
Some message. No, there weren't any.
No, I just assume you go onto Canvas and look, and so you're fine. Good question to ask, but you're fine. All right. Okay, so this is the schedule of both lecture and lab. And so here's the spring recess, 3rd week in March. And then we have our President's Day holidays in mid-February. Okay, and there's no lecture or lab. The campus is closed. The door will be locked on both those dates. Now the museum will be open, however. probably in both those dates, but the lab 104 will be locked, and then this room will be locked as well. Huh? What? What about tomorrow? Mhm. Now, this is something that was confusing every semester. You have 2 lectures in 1 lab. Lectures meet Friday, Saturday from noon to 1:10 or something like that. And then lab meets either Friday or Saturday. Whatever lab section you signed up for. Did you sign up for the Friday or the Saturday lab? But there's called a CRN code, and that refers to the lab section.
Here, I'll show you. Like. I had it all combined into one.
The lab in this class are the same CRN.
No, mine.
The lecture CRN and labs CRN are the same,
Uh-huh.
but it depends on whether you signed up for the CRN for Friday lab. But there's 2 lectures though. Okay. So tomorrow we're meeting again at noon here, regardless of what lab you're going to. And then if you have a Saturday lab, you go to Saturday lab, and you lectures over here, you go home, and vice versa. Okay, does that make sense?
I think, yeah.
And it's just that, and I don't know why they did it that way. Sac
Okay.
City is much better. They just have, and Canvas is so much easier there because they just have lecture,
Yeah.
and so it's easier.
Well,
Here,
I've seen them where you have to sign up for the lecture and then you have to sign up for the lab, and it was completely separate. But this one, we just got it all together.
right,
So,
and that's the way they implemented it here.
okay.
And I don't like it, but that's just the way it is. So you'll only see 1 CRN, but the CRN includes 2 lectures in 1 lab.
Okay.
All right, very important. You don't want to miss lecture, and all tests are on Saturdays. So Saturdays are a good day to come. Okay, yeah. If you have Saturday lab, yes. If you have Friday lab, today we're going to go to lab. Yeah, so you understand that, right? Sounds like it, yeah. All right, and I'm sorry, our wonderful administration decided to do it that way, and you're not the only ones that are confused. Yeah. Correct. That's because you're a student. The blueprint I use to populate your Canvas section, the one you signed up for.
And also for the chemistry course that I have on my business, all the dates are like from 2020 before.
That's because I haven't updated the due dates on the labs. So I just noticed that as well. So basically, you always have a week to do. Okay, so her question said the due dates are all messed up. They're from fall. That's because when you create a Canvas class, you have to import another class. So the one I imported was the one I did in the fall. So basically, all those have to be updated. Okay, and when I'm in lab today, actually, I'm going to update those real quick. Okay, so let's see if I covered everything. I think I've covered everything. Now, in lab, for wet labs only, there's an extensive lab write-up. And the lab write-up is not just fill in the forms. You're going to actually be filling out, you're all going to have to purchase a lab notebook for lab. And this is like a comp book. Walmart sells them, I think, for $1.20. Yeah. 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 But it's got to be a comp book. It's sewn, the pages are sewn in. Okay, no spiral, no 3-ring. It's got to be a comp. Yeah. Yeah. And that's in every lab class in the chemistry department. Sometimes intro classes don't do that. So when the students get to 1A, it's like they're blown away. They've never seen this before. So that's why we do it at this level as well. And actually, that was my idea. A lot of the new instructors teach Chem A. When I first started here, they had like 8 or 9 sections of Chem A. Really. Now we're down to 2, and it's always me. And it was always wild because every class was different because they had new people, and the new people, based on their experience, would teach it differently. It was like awful. No consistency whatsoever. At least with one person teaching it, it's consistent from class to class. So, all right. So let's, I'll probably remember stuff as we go along here, but basically this is it. So I'm going to be updating the assignment due dates today in lab or home tonight, one of the two, probably in lab. All right, so let's start chemistry now. Now, as I mentioned earlier, there's a lot of math in this class. Science and engineering disciplines use math a lot. And where they get their numbers from are from instruments, measuring instruments, whether it's a ruler or some $89 million telescope in the sky. They're instruments, okay? Every instrument, regardless of what you pay for it, has got a built-in error. Now, I'm really into cooking. I cook a lot. And I have like a digital scale at home to weigh stuff. Because weighing stuff, there's a lot of reasons you should weigh your food, not use volumetric. But anyway, so I have a digital scale at home, and we have digital scales here. We have some very, very high-end scales here. I'm going to measure 4 decimal places of a gram. So it's 1/10 of a milligram balance, and very, very accurate. They still got built-in errors, though. So we have something called significant figures. And that's what your dry lab is about, by the way. So a significant figure is a measurement of precision. So if we go through here and just do some examples. In fact, let's this is what your first dry lab is going to look like. You're going to be going through doing a series of analysis of precision on these numbers. Okay, so if we were to look at a series of numbers, I want you guys to kind of give me an idea of the significant figures. Okay, so we have, first one is 1, 2, 3. How many sig figs do you think that is? 3, right. Okay. And what about 1.23? We have, is that 3? Okay. Yeah, we have a bunch of 3s. Okay. What about 0.23? We have 2s, 2, 2. Okay. What about 1.01? 3. 50. We have a 1, we have a 1. What about 50 point? 2, 2. What about 0.0035? Okay, we have 4, we have 5, we have 2, 2. What about 1.0035? See, 5, 5, 5, 5. 0.10035. 5, 5. Let's see, let's get rid of this thing here. What about 1.23 times 10 squared? We have 3, 3, 5. I was making a point here. I'm not sure what it is. Okay, how about 0.00350? Got 4, 3. Anything else? Okay, you guys did pretty well, actually. Better than most classes, actually. Okay, the issue is it always comes down to zeros and where are those zeros located and whether there's a decimal point present or not. For example, this guy here. I'm surprised you guys got this one right. It is 1 sig fig. That 0 does not count as a significant figure. It does here, though. What's the difference between these two? Decimal point. Decimal point. Okay, what about this guy here? Rectna is number 2. 2 sig figs. Okay, now there's a decimal point present, and we have 3 kinds of zeros. Actually, 3.5 kinds of zeros. Okay, one is zeros at the end, zeros in the middle, and zeros at the beginning. And they will affect how many significant figures there are in the number. That's where they're located. Okay. This guy here, 5, zeros in the middle. 0 in the beginning. Now notice there's one thing I want you to get in the habit of doing in this class, and I will correct it every time you don't do it, is any number less than 1, I want you to put a 0 point. And the reason for that has to do with some very, very bad things that happened at hospitals around our country, in fact, around the world. And hospitals that have not switched over to electronic billing and electronic medical records are still having this issue, like in third world countries, for example. What happens is there's a lot of water around clinics and hospitals, right? And water splashes if you turn on too much. And if water splashes onto your notebook, it leaves a little dot. So you don't know if that dot is a decimal point or a splatter of water. If you put 0 point, you definitely know that that's a decimal point. So get used to writing numbers. Now, when you put this number in your calculator, don't put the 0 point in. But as far as writing it down, put down the 0 point. Okay, so let's continue here now. 1.2 times 10 squared. Okay, that's a scientific notation number. And basically, that's all that counts. So how many sig figs is 1.23? 3. Oh, this one up here too. Correct answer is 2. And on this one here, correct answer is 3.
So all students with zeros, 0.035, all kind of like the beginning.
Yeah, so again, yeah, so I'm going to give you some rules, which is kind of what you're getting at. Yeah. Okay, so the placement of the 0 matters, and also whether a decimal point is there. So there are 3 situations. And these are the situations. We have zeros in the middle, zeros at the beginning, zeros at the end. Okay. When they're in the middle, they always count. No exceptions. And I always like to say no exceptions. If they're at the beginning, they never count. No exceptions. If they're at the end, it matters if there's a decimal point there. So if there's a decimal point anywhere in the number, zeros at the end count. If there's no decimal point, the zeros don't count. So those end zeros are the ones that are a little tricky. So, for example, here, beginning zeros don't count. That's why there's only 2 sig figs there. Here, no decimal point. Means it doesn't count. Here we have a decimal point, so it does count. Zeros in the middle always count. Here we have zeros in the beginning and in the middle. So the ones in the middle count, but not the one in the beginning. On this guy here, only the number from 1 to 9.99 count, not the exponential number. So this one doesn't matter what that exponent is, never counts. And then here we have a combination of beginning and end. So the only one that counts is the end one because it's got a decimal point present. And this we're going to use for the rest of the semester. Always, when you look at your answer, your calculator has about 29 significant figures underneath the covers. So it'll give you like blah, 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 on and on and on. That doesn't mean that's your answer, though. Your answer has to reflect the proper number of significant figures in your calculation. So, yeah.
After the zero calculation or step?
That's a good question. He was saying, when do we figure out the sig figs? At the very end. Because if you don't, you're going to get rounding errors. Because sig figs, when you go, say we want a number that's this long, we want 2 sig figs, when you have to go and round it to 2 sig figs. So there's a rounding issue there. And if the rounding is always the same way, you'll end up with a number that has rounding errors. So it's always at the end. So you grind it all out in your calculator and then do your sig figs. Yeah.
This one. Years past for exact numbers like that don't count for the
Right.
calculation.
Right. Now his question was really good. I haven't talked about it at all yet. So this is your first lab. Okay. How many times did I beat on the table? 3. 3.1. 2.9. No, exactly 3. No measurement involved. Exactly 3. So guess what the sig figs are for that? 1 versus 1. Yeah. Yes. 3. Okay, the answer is infinite. Yeah. Is that what you're going to say? Infinite. So if something is not measured, the precision is infinite. Something is defined. For example, this is a tough one now. How many are in a dozen? by definition, how many are in a dozen? 12. It's not 2 sig figs. It's not 1 sig figs. It's infinite. So anything by definition, like a lot of metric stuff is by definition. You know, there's a 100 centimeters in a meter, for example. 100 centimeters is exact by definition. So anything that's defined, infinite. Now that's going to come into play when we start doing calculations. Because the sig figs of what you're calculating is going to affect the answer. So when we multiply, divide, or exponentiate, like 2 times 4.1, for example, that's multiplication, we get an answer. The answer takes on the least significant number. This is where his question was going towards. Okay. So one, you have to know, be able to figure out sig figs of your problem. So if we were to multiply 1.25 times 2.50 on your calculator, you're going to get this big long number. Oops. Big long number, which is fine, except it's not correct. So we have to analyze our multiplication parts. Okay, how many sig figs is 1.25? 2.50, 3. So our answer is going to have 3 sig figs, not 9 or whatever that number is. So we go to the 4th place, the 4th significant number, which is this guy here, the 5. Bless you. If it's 5 or more, we round up. If it's 4 or less, we round down. Bless you again. Okay, so that means we kick the 2 up to a 3. So our correct answer is 3.13. Now, some of this is going to be weird for you. Some of it's going to be, in my opinion, it should be weird for you. But that's just measurement issues. Like when you take a statistics class, is that a math class? The math department, but is that a math class? No, it's not. Okay, and this applies to multiplication, division, exponentiation. Okay, so let's why don't you guys do that? Okay, so what's our answer? That's what our calculator gave us. What's our answer? How many sig figs is 3.50? 3, 1.5. So our answer is going to be 2. So we go to the 3rd place. It's 4 or less. So that means everything else. It doesn't matter if there are 9s here. Absolutely does not matter. It's only the next place over that matters. So 3. That means the answer is 2.3. Now, another point I want to make is Now on my end, I always put two SF for two sig figs. You don't have to do that. That's just for you guys for clarity. If you want to put that in, you want to be complete or whatever, or your OCD, put that in. Now, when I put this in my calculator, this is the way I put it in. 3.5 divide key 1.5. Notice I didn't put the 0 in. Same with zeros in the beginning. You don't need to put those in. Now, a lot of you put it in. It's a waste of keystrokes. You risk having a computational error if you don't put them in correctly. Okay, so trailing zeros, it's a waste of time putting them in. What? Well, look at the 3 rules I gave you. In beginning, they never count. Middle always count. And at the end counts if there's a decimal point. So that's why that 0 counts, because there's a decimal point there. Make sense?
Yeah, I guess. I just don't get why, like, if you could always add as many zeros as you want.
No, you can't. The reason why you can't is because you're getting this out of an instrument that gives you this data. So you just can't arbitrarily add zeros. I mean, on paper you could, but this all goes back to lab. If you have a measuring device, like a scale that goes to 1 decimal point, you have another scale over here that goes to 5 decimal points, and you interact with those 2 numbers, your answer is only as good as the weakest one. Think of a metaphor. We have a chain. The chain is all taken apart and I'm putting it together. And I have a box of links that can hold 100 pounds, and I have a box of links that can hold 10 pounds. I put my chain together. How much can I lift with that chain? I got 2 boxes. Okay, chains are made up of links. Okay, one box is each one is valued at 100 pounds strength. The other is valued at 10 pounds. So we start assembling the chain, just randomly choosing links, got the whole thing done. How much weight can I lift with that chain? 10 pounds. Because we go to 11 pounds, that 10-pound link is going to break. 100 pounds, not a problem at all. It's kind of like life. Your team is as strong as the weakest person. Same with sig figs. All right. Is everyone okay where I got the 2.3? All right. So let's do one more here. So we're going to multiply. Okay, so 5.0 times 10 to the, that's a -1 now. Times 1.23 times 10 to the 10th. What is the answer? Now this is going to be a couple problems on calculator technique. Does anyone not have their calculator with them? Okay. You have your phone. Okay. So use a calculator on your phones. And you cannot use your phone on your tests. So make sure you eventually pick up a calculator. We're gonna be doing a fair amount of working very large numbers in here and very tiny numbers. When I say large, I mean hugely large. Like there's a number called Avogadro's number, 6.02 times 10 to the 23rd. That means there are 21 zeros after that 2. That's a big number. And we're also working with tiny ones as well. Yeah. Well, that's what my calculator said, 6.15. Okay, so if you're not comfortable putting scientific numbers in your calculator, this is the way I suggest you do it. Okay, so we're going to go 5, 5. Don't have to worry about the trailing 0. EE. And what EE does is it glues the exponential number to the number from 1 to 10. Quite literally, it connects the two, regardless of whether it's in the numerator or denominator. Change sign, there's 2 minuses on your calculator. One is change sign, the other is subtraction. Not equivalent at all. So to have a negative number, we have to use the change sign key. And then 1 with this exponent here. So change sign makes it negative. 1, hit the times key, 1.23, EE, 10, enter. Now, the other way to do it is to not use the EE key. So you're going to go 5 times 10 caret change sign 1 times 1.23 times 10 caret 10 enter. So the EE does 2 things. It saves you keystrokes, meaning possibly less errors. And secondly, it glues these numbers together. Yeah. Yeah, that should work okay. I'm going to give you an example in a second here, and you can test it. Is that a Casio? Okay, the only one that does that, by the way. Every other Texas Instrument one has EE key on it. Oh, okay, good. Yeah, EE. Yeah, you just have to shift to get to it. That's all. No, his was different. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
His actually had a little box with an exponent in it, right? It's just like yours.
It's like a block, but it's like 5.
Yeah. Right. Um,
I
w-
used that one at first.
Hmm?
I used the first time when you said try this one. I used that again.
okay, cool. Okay, so my calculator spit it out 6.15 times 10 to the 9. Okay, so sig fig wise, we have 2, 3. The answer is going to have 2. So that means I go to the 3rd place. It's 5 or greater. That kicks that up to 6.2 times 10 to the 9th. So all it affects is the number from 1 to 10. It does not affect the exponential number at all. Okay, I want you to try one more, then we're done for today. Let's just use the same numbers here. Okay, try that one. Now, this problem is really important. You get the same answer as I did. And then, of course, we're in a, it's gonna be 2, 3, so it's gonna be 2 sig figs, so it's 4.1 times 10 to the minus 11.
Jesus.
Oh, you have the Casio.
So don't worry.
Casios always did something different.
Okay.
Um,
Different calculator.
no, I think we should just try to use this one. Unless you have another one at home. Okay, so Casios have a button. See this S to D? That goes, sometimes it'll end up with an actual short fraction, like 3/8.
That's what I did the first one. It was 7/3.
Okay, then hit the S to D, and it'll convert it to decimal. So for example,
This is your own.
okay, so it's a third, right? Okay, you hit the S to D, it converts to decimal.
Oh, okay. And for the other one, why didn't it show a decimal? It was just 4065.
Right, that's because it was a whole number.
Uh-huh.
It really should have said over 1, but.
Okay.
So you can probably use this, okay. It's just, Casio always does things differently, and I don't know, so if you feel like you need to get on a calculator, get a TIA. But I think you should be able to use this one. Just remember the S to D when you end up with a fraction.
So it's not showing the excess zero. Just give me the whole number.
Mhm. So, your number and my number are very different.
Because it doesn't have the excess.
Hmm?
It doesn't have a scientific notation anymore.
No, this is a huge number. This is 4 quadrillion, and my number is way less than 1. So show me how you did this. What, the, did you put 1.23 in there?
I tried to. Might have just stuck on the decimal point.
Okay, so because you didn't use the EE function,
Okay.
It thought you multiply by 10 to the 10th.
Oh, okay, so I gotta use the E. Alright.
So if you don't want to use the E, this needs to go in parentheses and it'll work fine.
Okay.
Okay, so this is where EE shines, or an equivalent function. Okay. If you don't put EE down here, you're gonna go 50 or 5 times 10 to the minus 1. Hit the divide key, 1.23 times 10, 10, 10. Okay, your calculator thinks you're multiplying by 10 to the 10th, not dividing by 10 to the 10th. So you get a very large number. It's a quadrillion class number. That's why it's crucial that you tie these two together. If you don't want to tie them together, you have to use have to, parentheses. Then it would work fine. But it's all these extra keystrokes. Okay. All right. So I'm talked longer than normal because I took a lot of time to kind of introduce the class. So anyway, we're done for today. Your labs are going to practice this big time. So you'll get lots of practice on SigFix. That's this week's lab. So did everyone needs to be able to get this answer though? Did anyone, I know a couple of you, like you didn't get this answer. Did you? Oh, okay, cool. Yeah. Normally it's on the bottom right here.
Okay,
That's change sign.
okay, so I would do 5. This one times 10. Not following the order. Like,
Here, let's just do it. Okay. So you're gonna go 5 EE -1.
where did that come
5 EE change sign -1 divided by, hit the divide key. Anything on the bottom, hit the divide key. 1.23 EE 10.
I didn't follow where the jump was made from the 10 to -1 to the EE. So is that where you're,
So right here, instead of putting that in there, you use the EE.
okay,
And you don't have to, so I'm gonna go 5 EE -1 -1.
you use this one?
No, I use this down here for the -1. This is change sign.
Okay,
That's subtraction. Totally different. Okay. Fractions mean we're dividing.
Mhm.
So hit the divide key, boom. Now we're going to put in 123. And again, this is EE.
is this anytime you see times 10 times 10 is EE?
Yeah.
Is that because of the significant thing?
No, it's because it's scientific notation. So I'm going to go EE 10 and enter.
Okay, I was just not following where the EE came in substitute for the,
Yeah, so it substitutes for times 10 to the, and if you didn't do that, you'd have to go times 10 caret, which is exponentiation 10. So you saved all those keystrokes using the EE.
because when I do put it that way, it shows error, but okay, so just if it's always times 10, this is EE always. Is that only for 10 or is that any value?
Only for 10.
Only for 10?
Yeah,
Okay,
it's by definition, the way the calculators are set up,
okay,
because it's to save you making errors with scientific notation.
Okay, so anytime I see times 10 to the power of something, I put EE to the power of.
Yes. I can't think of any exceptions, but so for this class, yes.
Okay. Thank you.
So maybe it's because it's on my phone, but we have like the same number as this 5. But the difference is I have 40.6, you have 4.0.
That's because it didn't put it in scientific notation.
Okay, there we go. Thank you.
Because scientific notation is the numbers 1 to 10.
Okay.
And yours is 40. So you got to convert the 40 to 4 times 10, and then that affects the exponent.
The lab after this, right?
Huh?
We're on lab, after this, right?
If you're in Friday's lab, yes.
Okay.
Room 104.
Sending the email, the introductory email, I was on the wait list and I got in after you sent the email.
Yes. Follow me to lab.
Okay, also the labs, I don't know how to sign up. So I'm not signed up into the Friday or Saturday on.
It's just like any other class. Only you sign up by lab, not by lecture.
Is it in the Canvas?
No. No, like when you sign up for a class, it has nothing to do with Canvas.
Okay, so it's in the class schedule, so I have to look it up.
Yeah, yeah. Ask someone, how do you sign up for classes?
Okay,
You know, because as a teacher, I don't know what you guys have to go through to sign up.
right.
But normally there's an enrollment button you push and then it asks you for the class CRN. And then you press that, and if there's room in it, it'll ask you, if there's no room in the class, it'll ask for permission number, which I have to give you.
Okay, alright.
So I was confused on this one. Why was it not 3 or 4? Because if it's in the middle, you always consider.
It's
it.
not in the middle though. It's in the beginning.
So you, okay, after decimal, so you never count it.
Correct.
Okay.
Just in the beginning, never,
Okay.
no exceptions.
That works. Thank you.
Sure. It's this building right there. Yeah, if you walk that way, you'll stumble into it.
Lab tomorrow, 1:30. Is that correct?
Mhm.
So it's
Well,
not-
I don't know. I mean, that's what you signed up
Yeah,
for, then, right?
so 1:30.
Yes, so you're done for today.
Yes. Then tomorrow, 1:30 is the lab.
Yes, but you have to show up for noon for lecture though.
Because on my speed, it doesn't say that. It says 1:30 from 4:30.
I know, but there. If you go to the class schedule,
Mhm. Uh,
you'll,
This is like my schedule, right? Says 1:30 Saturday lab.
but let's go back this way. See, it says FS,
Oh, okay.
Friday, Saturday,
So tomorrow's from 12 to 4:35?
correct?
Okay.
So-
Okay,
Oh, are you Latina?
yes.
Ah, ¿entiendes español?
Sí, 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 sí.
Oh, está bien.
Okay.
And it's asking for the access code.
I know. I go through this every semester. And I don't,
To me, I don't understand why. I bought the book. I feel like I should have access to it.
of course. Now, did they send you an email?
No, not.
That's what I was gonna talk to you about. I was gonna email you this morning. I went to the bookstore and they said it only allows access through a link. But if you go to Pearson directly, they refunded me. My e-text I bought for them. You have to go to Pearson directly and purchase it.
Okay.
Or else you need a class link, because it's like usually an online master class.
But see,
and Weird.
The link is mastering chemistry, and that costs you extra money, and I don't use mastering chemistry.
It's cheaper.
Okay.
Too. Yeah, I.
It's cheaper for like, what, 40 bucks or something?
Option. Each one required the course ID. And there's like, oh, it was just the wrong material they suggested at the bookstore. But it was my first time buying through the bookstore, so I'm like, oh.
Yeah, I hate that. My last meet,
Shoot on that.
no,
I
no,
was
no,
so
but it
confused.
happens every semester, you know, it drives me crazy.
Yeah, so wait, so we're saying just go to the bookstore, just go get the refunded and then.
Okay.
Get a code here?
Huh?
Can I pick up a code for the class here to add the class here or?
Yes, why don't you follow me to lab though? I need to close all this down. Normally I finish way before now. But I talk a lot in the beginning.
Be on the website.
Yes, but like I was saying in the beginning, look for a used one online. If you want a digital one, go directly to Pearson to get it. Don't go to the bookstore. Because the bookstore assumes we're using Mastering Chemistry, and we're not. All you want is the textbook.
If we have an extra calculator, I don't mind that phone.
Yeah.
I think all the batteries recharge and everything.
Right. Okay, so, yes, not a problem.
All right, I'll just head over to the lab.
Yeah. There's usually a box of them over there, but if not, I can have 2 extras on. So no problem. And you sort of don't need a calculator. Oh, no, never mind. You do.
And then I did also order the lab pair of goggles, but I just talked to them at the bookstore that I got them all back ordered. So
Yeah, that's not, you're not going to need it for 3 weeks. So
Yeah.
don't, it's not a problem.
For the textbook, I bought the textbook and I have the code, but I do not have the class ID for like the little.
Yes, go back, get refunded money, and then go directly to Pearson, and you'll pay $40 less, number one, and you don't need a code for that.
Okay, and so it's just gonna be I just need the book. I don't need any Pearson online lab thingies.
Correct.
Okay,
You just need the textbook.
okay, perfect.
And she's gone. Yeah, so they're assuming bookstore is I'm using Mastering Chemistry. I'm not, because it costs you another $100 and something to do that. Right. I'm sensitive to students' lack of money.
I'll make this quick, but so on Saturday, that's the lab, I'm guessing. So tomorrow I come to the lab.
Yeah.
Instead of today.
Correct.
Okay.
Notice the other one is FS for the lecture.
Yep.
Yeah, okay, cool.
Right, thank you.
Sure.
And then, so I'm not in this class yet, so I just stay in here until another person like drops out and I get added.
It-
Or is it?
Yes, it depends on the wait list though.
Yeah.
Are you on the wait list?
Yes.
Okay, how far down are you?
It didn't really tell me. I got an email. I think like 2 weeks after the I got an email like 2 weeks after classes were signed up, and then it asked me for a confirmation, I believe. So
Okay, well, to enroll in the class after class starts, you have to have a permission number.
Right. Yeah.
And okay. Yeah, there's all this I like technology, but as
Right.
look at this mess of wires. It's crazy. And I'm very comfortable with technology. It's just that if I don't get here soon enough, I'm sitting there talking to the class while I'm setting this up. And the nice thing is I've used this setup. I use it at
that's actually pretty good. It's very easy. Unplug everything.
well, if you've done it 400 or 500 times,
Yeah.
it's particularly easy.
You kind of need that.
And it's the same setup at home. Okay, so there's this.
That was all. Thank you.
Okay. So why don't you either come to lab today or tomorrow? Since you're not in the class, it really doesn't matter. And the only problem is I don't have a copy of the lab packet. So you're gonna have to
Thank you.
sit next to someone or something like that.
For sure. All right. Thank you.
Sure. Did that go okay in class today?
Yep. I pretty good sense of.
Good, good. Okay.